I'm 17 years old, and I was the only student left inside the school when the lockdown started. Everyone else had already gone home. I hadn't, and for about 45 minutes, I genuinely did not know if I was going to make it out. Let me back up. It was a Thursday in late October. The kind of afternoon where the sky goes gray around 4 p.m. and the hallways smell like old carpet and floor wax. I was a junior at the time, and I'd stayed back after the final bell to finish a project in the art room. My teacher, Mr. Hendricks, had specifically given me permission to stay. He unlocked the room for me, told me he'd be back before 5 to lock up, and then left for a staff meeting in the main building. The art room was in a separate wing, one of those portable style additions they built onto the school sometime in the 90s. It had its own entrance, its own small corridor, and it sat about 200 feet from the main building, connected by a covered walkway, but still separate. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just put my headphones in and got to work. By 4:15, the school was completely quiet. That wasn't unusual. Most kids cleared out fast once the bell rang. The parking lot would empty in 10 minutes, and then it was just the occasional staff car. I could hear the wind outside and the faint hum of the ventilation system. That was it. I'd been working for maybe 40 minutes when I took my headphones out to grab my water bottle from my bag. That's when I heard it. The announcement. Not through my headphones, through the actual PA system, the one mounted in the corner of the room near the ceiling. I hadn't even realized it was in there. It came on with that familiar click and then a short burst of static. And then the vice principal's voice. He was talking fast. He said all staff and remaining students were to go into immediate lockdown. He said this was not a drill. He said to secure all doors and remain where you were until further notice. And then the PA clicked off. I sat completely still for a moment. My brain was doing that thing where it tries to process something before your body decides how to react. I looked at the door to the art room, the one Mr. Hendricks had left unlocked for me. I got up and locked it. I turned off the lights, and then I stood in the middle of the room in the dark and tried to think. The art room had 2 windows. Both of them faced a covered walkway that connected to the main building. I couldn't see the parking lot from here. I couldn't see the front entrance. I had no idea what was happening out there or where it was happening. I checked my phone. No signal. That wing of the school had always had terrible reception, and I'd never cared before because I always had Wi-Fi. But the school's Wi-Fi had some kind of content filter on it, and the connection that afternoon was dropping in and out. I managed to get 1 bar for about 3 seconds, and then nothing. I sent a text to my mom that just said, "School is on lockdown. I'm in the art room. I'm okay." I didn't know if it went through. The little delivery notification never appeared. I moved to the wall next to the window, not in front of it, but beside it. I angled myself so I could see out into the walkway without being visible from outside. The walkway was empty. The main building looked dark from what I could see, or at least darker than usual. I told myself it was fine. These things happened sometimes. Some kind of threat gets called in, they lock everything down for an hour, and then it turns out to be nothing. I'd heard about other schools doing lockdowns over misunderstandings. It would be fine. That's what I kept telling myself. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes watching the walkway. Nothing moved. I started to feel a little better, actually. I moved to the back of the room and sat down on the floor with my back against the supply cabinet, where I couldn't be seen from either window, and then I heard footsteps on the walkway. I didn't move. The footsteps were slow, uneven, not like someone walking purposefully, more like someone who was moving carefully and stopping. To listen every few steps, I held my breath. They got closer. They stopped just outside the art room door. I could see the shadow of someone's feet through the gap at the bottom of the door. 2 feet. Standing still, I don't think I've ever been that scared in my life. Not before that moment, and not in the exact same way since. It's a very specific kind of fear, being completely alone, completely silent in the dark, knowing someone is standing just on the other side of a door, and you have no idea who they are or why they stopped there. I didn't breathe. The feet didn't move. 15 seconds. Maybe 20. It felt like 10 minutes dot, and then the handle moved. Not all the way. Just a slight shift, like someone testing it. Testing whether it was locked dot the door held. The feet stood there for another few seconds, and then they moved. On. Slowly. Back down the walkway toward the main building. I sat on the floor for a long time after that, not moving, not making a sound. My heart was going so fast I could feel it in my throat. I kept staring at the gap under the door, waiting for the shadow to come back. It DID and single quotes T. About 20 minutes later, I heard voices outside. Multiple people, and then a knock on the door, a firm, fast, official-sounding knock, and a man's voice said, "Police. Lockdown has been lifted. Is anyone in there?" I almost cried when I heard that dot. I unlocked the door and opened it. 2 officers were standing in the walkway. They looked at me like they were genuinely surprised to find someone there. One of them actually said, "You've been in here this whole time?" And I said yes, and he exchanged a look with his partner that I still think about. They walked me out to the parking lot where a few teachers were gathered. Mr. Hendricks found me immediately and looked pale when he saw me. He said he'd completely forgotten I was back there when the lockdown was called, that the staff had been accounted for in the main building and nobody had thought about the art wing. I had been completely off the grid for 45 minutes. Nobody told me that night exactly what had happened. The official story that came out over the next few days was that someone had been reported on school grounds who shouldn't have been there. A former student with a history of incidents. They found him hiding in a maintenance closet near the gymnasium, which is on the exact opposite side of the building from the art room except the art room walkway is not on the way to the gymnasium. The police report I eventually managed to read, because my mom requested a copy, noted that there was a period of about 20 minutes during the lockdown where the individual's location was unknown. That was the same 20 minutes I spent listening to footsteps. In the walkway outside my door, I never got a direct answer about whether he came to that side of the building. The officer I asked said they couldn't confirm specifics of the investigation. My mom was furious. I was mostly just relieved to be home. But here's what I still think about. When the police found him in the maintenance closet, he was carrying a bag. Nobody would tell us what was in the bag, and the gap under the door, the feet that stood there and didn't move, the handle that turned just slightly. I locked that door on instinct. I didn't know if it was actually necessary. I still don't know if it was. I probably never will.